when we follow Jesus, Isaiah 61:1 becomes our mission as well. So when we look at the beginning of Isaiah 61, it says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to proclaim good tidings to the poor and to proclaim liberty to the captives, and open the prison for those who are in there, and to heal the brokenhearted. He's saying all these things that Jesus said, fulfilled that prophecy, in the New Testament. But I think what it is he wants us to internalize that as well. It wasn't just his mission, it was, his mission, and then it became the disciples' mission. And I believe that's an easy focus for us that becomes our mission, because that's what we want to look at, is those types of people in our world. There's so many different types of things we can be doing, and we can choose sides, and political sides, and military sides, and this side and that side and the other side, or even your pastor or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, we got to look at that chapter in Isaiah and really internalize it, make that our mission, and then see how we can actually give back to the world in that capacity. Because there are people, they're captive to their mental slavery, they're captive to the system, they're captive to evil, they're captive to their addictions, they're captive to all these things, and they don't have anybody to help get them out. There's so many people that are brokenhearted. I go out with a sign that says "You are loved," and I try to get as many people to see that sign as I can in a day. Sometimes it's hundreds, and it's awesome, and you never know who that is affecting, and it's just amazing. I love the fact that I can do what I do, and I can't, just go and say, well, since I'm doing it, everybody can just drop what they're doing and go out there and do street church all the time, but we can all do it in some capacity, and we can still do it as we're going about our normal day, living our normal lives. The important thing is that we want to make sure we're as free as we can and be inside, and we want to make sure our hearts are as filled up as they possibly can, because once we apply that to us, then we can apply all those things to other people, and it just really makes a difference. But to those people that are going all in, definitely help them, encourage them. There are people probably in your church that, they have the time, the means, the ways to do this kind of thing, and they're not doing it, because their church really doesn't teach to do that. It just teaches, just pray. The next world that's coming is going to be better. And it's like, well, that may be true, but why don't we spend some time and effort making this world a better place? Because there is a lot of suffering. There are a lot of people just suffering and not free, and I've seen that, especially when you look at the cults like the Jehovah's Witnesses. They are very far from free, and I show them that when I'm interacting with them, especially the younger ones. The younger ones you can still really easily reach. The older ones, they're very set in their ways, but as you're living from example, that helps. I was looking at this one couple years back. This kid was probably 23, 24, and we were having our conversation, and I was thankful that they let me speak for a minute. But I just put my hands up in the air and I said, "Can you do this right now?" And he's just looking at me all scared. I was like, "You're not free." I'm like, "You're in a prison without bars." I'm like, "Look around you. Do you want to spend the rest of your life doing this and not having any fulfillment in life and actually not doing any real good for anybody?" And then I just let it all sink in, and you could tell that he believed me and he knew that was the truth, but he was so scared because of family pressure, social pressure, and whatever else was going on. So that's an example of what's going on today. It's just like it was in Jesus' time. When he read that aloud in the synagogue, what he was doing is he was preaching accountability to the people and to the people that were running the place. That's what he's doing with us. When we read that, is he's putting that accountability within us to pick up where he left off and take up our cross and to follow him that way. He said people would do more than he would, greater good. And it's like, well, let's step up to the plate and do that greater good. That's what I do all the time, and that's why I ask for your support, because that's what I'm doing, is fulfilling that mission as best as I can. But I want you to be able to do that too. It just takes a smile, a wave, mercy, patience, holding a door for somebody. That's all taking care of those things, because once we're in that kingdom, don't we want to act like we're in that kingdom? We can't just say we're in the kingdom and then not act like it, because then we just become two different ends. And when we're polar opposites like that, then the message just doesn't get across to people. So I really encourage you today to read Isaiah 61, especially 61:1. Let that anointing be upon you as well today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and if you feel like donating, links are in the description. Thank you. Have a great day.